Welcome to Video 6F Part 5, where we continue with our assessment of contemporary culture focusing on Hollywood and the primary institutional groups of arts, music, and communications. Shifting gears slightly, let's talk about a joyous and spiritual time of the year, Christmas. It's a fun-filled day, culturally significant, and devoted towards love, peace, and goodwill to all. It's also a most significant spiritual day for Christians, as Christmas is regarded as the birth in a manger of the Son of God, Jesus Christ. So any and all references to Christmas evoke strong emotional bonds in the faithful. Well, we've got to ask, how do you think New Hollywood treats Christmas these days? I'm not talking about back in the 20th century, like It's a Wonderful Life or A Christmas Story. No, we don't get those movies anymore. Instead, we get the output of moral relativists in Hollywood, which amounts to an attack year after year, belittling Christmas with violence, bad comedy, and horror, subjecting us to a twisted, malevolent, murderous Santas. We can start back in 1984 with the first Silent Night, Deadly Night movie, where Santa is climbing down a chimney with a bloody axe. The Silent Night, Deadly Night movie developed into a movie franchise spanning over 26 years. After the first film, it was followed by 5 more like-themed movies: Part 2 in 1987, Part 3 in 1989, Part 4 in 1990, Part 5 in 1991, and Part 6 in 2010. Always bloody, violent, twisted, and horrific. Let's see now. In addition to the Silent Night, Deadly Night series, which started in 1984, we also get in 1984 another hate-filled anti-Christmas film, Don't Open Till Christmas. A butcher knife stuck in a present should give you an indication where this movie will take you. In 2005, we're gingerly treated to Bill Goldberg's Santa Sleigh. Again, another crazed Santa with icicle knives. Let's see now, what seems to pair well with Christmas from a movie industry standpoint? How about a giant devil? His name is Krampus, and he can't wait to despoil your holy day with hate, violence, and the macabre. Krampus is just the opposite of Jolly Santa. He comes to reward all the naughty boys and girls with pain, as well as their parents and friends. Nothing like taking Christmas into the darker depths by associating it with a devil monster. There have been 6 Krampus movies to date, ranging in release dates from 2013 through 2017, with the last one being distributed by Universal Pictures. Apparently, executives there want to get in on the action to help in debasing Christmas to satisfy greedy hands. And you don't have to look very far for more negative messaging about Hollywood's Christmas season. There's Hollywood's Bad Santa 1 and Bad Santa 2. A drunk, oversexed slob who thinks of himself first and foremost, assisted by a sour little angry elf. And in 2017, we get treated to another delight, A Bad Mom's Christmas. The audience is once again subjected to negative imagery associated with excessive drinking, raucous antics with Santa Claus. And further into the movie, we get plenty of nudity and all the raunchy sex romps. Plenty of negative association going on here. Whatever this film has to do with Christmas is simply lost in the empty heads of the STX Entertainment Group, makers and producers of the film. It's movies like this and other ones we've mentioned which are disrespectful to one of the holiest days for Christianity worldwide, second only to Easter. Some liberal progressives would ban this type of production a hate crime if it were to be another religion, but not when it's Christianity. Their disposition is to ignore the bigoted treatment as though Christianity is somehow deserving of the intolerance. You have to ask yourself, why does New Hollywood and entertainment companies like STX manufacture this crap, instead of inspirational movies about the true meaning of Christmas? Why are the producers responsible for these types of movies so passionate about infecting the American public with such negative imagery around Christmas. Even when they try to conceal their vile under the cloak of comedy, this tendency by some studios is revealing. As we know, it's not about comedy. We clearly understand their intent. It's negative association, meant to belittle and demean the Christian holy day, whether the holy part or the commercialized part. Either way, it's the same smear, associated with the word Christmas and/or the significance as a holy day. You would think we'd run out of examples by now, not by a long shot. Hollywood's been busy bashing and undermining Christianity for some time, and if you were to check the release dates on many of the anti-Christian movies and made-for-TV and cable shows, you would find the tempo attacking people of faith and Christian symbology has increased over the past 15 years, all reflecting a deep cultural deterioration that is occurring in the minds and hearts of people in the mega media entertainment industries. It makes you wonder, when's the last time you saw a raunchy comedy about other great religions, say Rosh Hashanah, or Yom Kippur, or Passover, the high Jewish holy days? Or how about disrespectful comedy about Ramadan, diminishing Islam, or the Hindu or Buddhist holy days? You never do. Hollywood doesn't go there. They exclusively focus on trashing Christmas year after year after year. Yes, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder a lot. In going through these many anti-Christian films, one's left wondering, has it all been negative and hateful? Have there been any positive Christian films produced, say over the last 20 years or so? Obviously, not all movies and films made for the theaters or for TV and cable miniseries have been decidedly anti-Christian and negative. To make such a claim would be inaccurate, if not simply an overreach. However, throughout our culture, as you have heard and seen for yourself in the video narrative we've been sharing, one very momentous thing is repeatedly occurring time and time again. There exists an ongoing contention around humanity, as well as within humanity, and this contention is reflected in all of our institutions of society. This contention is one between principal ethical behavior and destructive evil, between what is conscientiously right for our society and what is simply wrong, between what is good and what is bad. It's a contention clearly happening in Hollywood and the mega media empires as a whole. Hollywood and entertainment have been infected with moral relativity, displacing the heart and soul which was once predominant there, and replacing that vibrant conscience with a darker, colder personality that cares little for boundaries of decency and responsible and appropriate limits. It is undeniable we're getting quite a lot of bad anti-Christian films coming out of Hollywood. We've amply shown that, and we suspect it will continue as long as the antagonists to religion and God are still actively employed in Hollywood. We don't see meaningful change forthcoming anytime soon on that subject. However, there is some silver lining in the dark cloud hanging over the film industry. It's not all bad news. Fortunately, our entertainment industry still manages to put out good films about Christianity and religion. Sometimes it happens through Hollywood, yet to be entirely candid, that path is more a rarity today. New Hollywood's anti-Christian culture tends not to direct funding resources towards Christian films. For a typical Christian film to be made today, it's generally driven by private funding through small cottage film studios, which in turn will structure a relationship with a larger mega media corporation for distribution and viewing. In this way, a number of good movies have been produced, good films with positive messaging and projecting a truthful image of Christianity, of religion, and the faithful. For example, Son of God, Risen, God's Not Dead 1 and 2, Fireproof, and Mel Gibson's The Passion of Christ, all well done, all positive Christian films. One last point about Hollywood and the entertainment industry we'd like to share is this. You can always know the true nature of an institution by looking how it affects the people within it, how its culture impacts them, and we clearly see how they eat their young, relentlessly and indiscriminately. Judy Garland, drug overdose in 1969. Elvis Presley, drug overdose in 1977. Kurt Cobain, suicide 1994. Sid Vicious, heroin overdose 1979. Jim Morrison, heroin overdose in 1971. Dana Plato, drug overdose 1999. River Phoenix, combined drug intoxication 1993. Corey Haim, drugs and pneumonia in 2010. Chris Farley, drug overdose in 1998. John Belushi, combined drug intoxication 1982. Michael Jackson, drug intoxication 2009. Whitney Houston, drugs and drowning. Amy Winehouse, alcohol poisoning. Peaches Geldof, daughter to Bob Geldof, a major rock musician and actor. She died of drugs. Corey Monteith, from the popular music series Glee, died of drugs. Marilyn Monroe, a beautiful and fun-loving actress, clearly representative of Hollywood's glamour and glitter, died from drugs and forever denying America her contagious smile. Heath Ledger died of drug intoxication in 2008, leaving behind an accomplished film career. Paul Walker died in a fiery car crash in 2013. Philip Seymour Hoffman, drug intoxication 2014. Robin Williams, suicide 2014. Prince, drug overdose 2016. Lindsay Lohan, fighting drug addiction. Chris Cornell, suicide 2017. Chester Bennington, suicide 2017. The following lists notable celebrities and others involved in the entertainment industry. The total list spells out the names of hundreds of lives which have been lost and tied to the stressful, hedonistic lifestyle and the destructive culture of Hollywood, and all of them having died after extended battles with drugs, alcohol, and/or depression over the past many years. We could go through the whole alphabet, however, we think you get the point. Yet hundreds have died, alone, desperate and overwhelmed. And from our perspective, we can clearly see how Hollywood and the entertainment industry eats its young, its middle-aged. The nature of the entertainment industry culture is not life-building, nor is it life-enhancing. These actors, actresses, and musicians, once full of life and actively entertaining, were taken by Hollywood's dark culture much too soon. All of these folks, all of them, affected the lives of countless tens of thousands, and they too have had something taken from their lives as well. We are genuinely sad to witness and experience these changes and associated hardships occurring in Hollywood today, right now, in our time, as we sit here and reflect. We know all this hasn't happened overnight. It's been slowly building over the past few decades, in a steady, incremental way, inconspicuous at first, and now we sense at a bolder and more visible pace. We see now how more and more people in New Hollywood are emerging and contributing to the cold collapse of the institution, into a complacency with anti-values and an acceptance of a morally relative society and a personal value set, which encourages a society to worship man's vanity at the center of decision-making and choice, while rejecting the supreme standards of a loving God. It is regrettable to see the public by consequence, and we mean us, becoming the casualties in this battle for hearts and minds. It is troubling to see our freedoms and beliefs being disrespected, regardless if those beliefs were liberal, moderate, or conservative in nature. Let us remind ourselves, we are the ones who are adversely impacted. It is quite disheartening to see and experience the reckless squandering by Hollywood and media moguls of what was once an institution which had an unspoken yet recognized mission to provide support to and development of the nation's cultural character. By expanding the limits of our imagination and deepening the insights into who we are and are not. It is painful to watch the current leadership in our media corporations, along with many people immersed in the industry, bungle and fumble the ball on morality, on politics, on recognizing the immeasurable impact for good their trade could have yielded to the nation. We've often looked to Hollywood to tell us the human story in all of its marvelous dimensions, both good and bad, funny or sad, colorful or drab. As Americans, we certainly haven't reduced our hunger for good story and art. We still have the same hunger our parents had in the day, and our children and their children will have years from now. Frankly, we will continue turning to Hollywood to fulfill our desires for entertainment and life lessons. Yet, we need a Hollywood which can help us explore and push our minds past self-imposed boundaries and into new experiences of learning and perhaps even enlightenment. And by doing so, prod our souls into yielding greater insights into ourselves and the world around us. Our drive and desire for Hollywood films, movies, miniseries, cartoons, and sitcoms of all genres is a most natural desire. In our difficult world of today, with its daily trials and tribulations, we look for escape, for dreams to chase, for better circumstances to embrace. We look for lessons to learn, to be frightened, comforted, challenged, and loved, and we will continue to seek such even in our new Hollywood. And as Americans, we haven't and should not abandon what we hope and expect from the Hollywood of today. We're fairly pragmatic and sensible people. We readily can recognize when something is going off track and starting to careen. More so, we know it's better to be forewarned so we can be forearmed to act. Our not knowing and not understanding the forces at work in Hollywood will only serve to seal an uncertain fate, enabling those who want to transform a good Hollywood over to a bad Hollywood, perhaps forever, and that would be a great loss indeed. It is truly up to us, the American public, the consuming public, to understand what is happening to this institution and to clearly understand what it means to our culture and posterity. If we allow Hollywood to continue on its present course of progressive erosion in morality and civility, the train will careen off its track into a great wreck. We can and should prevent such an outcome. It's up to us to respond to a primary institution we see slipping, a Hollywood under the spell of progressive decay. May we be very clear about one thing, though. We are not suggesting in any way that everything Hollywood is creating today is not without good merit. Of course, there are still many fine films and messages being produced through the Hollywood entertainment and received by an adoring public each and every week. We know and readily acknowledge that reality and take no issue with it. People continue to enjoy their comedy, drama, nonfiction, action thrillers, and all. And we hope in earnest Hollywood continues producing quality movies with a message as it's done for decades. And we hope in earnest the goodness of Hollywood many of us are fond of will be protected and grown in the years ahead. However, we are very clearly stating one important and specific message, a message of warning and caution, an earnest message we hope will move you to personal action and perhaps a collective effort. The goodness of Hollywood is at full risk of being corrupted, and that corruption, if left unchecked, will fully undermine the institution of Hollywood as we have known it, as we have loved it, and as we really want it. and there will be even greater corruption of their works, in theme, in content and imagery, and the art, the magic of Hollywood will be further overrun by the rod of anti-values, reflecting the mantra of New Hollywood. We find this evolving degradation of Hollywood's culture disturbing, and we hope you see it that way as well, especially knowing such content moves downstream into our theaters and eventually right into our homes. Any time of the day, playing to anyone capable of turning on a TV, or a PC, or a tablet, a gaming console, or even just a smartphone. What we observe happening is a meltdown mode of conscience, morality, and tolerance, concurrent with a crisis of reason and sensibility. Kevin Sorbo captured the melt that is occurring with this quote: "Hollywood liberals preach tolerance, but they're the most intolerant people I know." And we've heard from many conservatives in Hollywood who have been pinched by the bias and intolerance Kevin speaks of. Liberal Hollywood has made clear conservatives are not welcomed in their closed subculture in the New Hollywood. Ultimately, what we see is a Hollywood becoming mired in the clutches of a mindless, ruthless moral relativity, in a tight and aggressive grip. Perhaps you heard the 2017 story published in the New York Times about Harvey Weinstein, a Hollywood executive who has been accused of sexually harassing movie actresses for nearly 30 years, and a Hollywood entertainment culture which has kept his transgressions quiet. Finally, by mid-October 2017, he's fired by the Weinstein Company. Cal Thomas, a nationally syndicated columnist, succinctly summed up the real issue here, saying, "In an age where we've cast off most restraints, from restrictions on abortion to sanctioning same-sex marriage, to normalizing the use of nudity, crude language, and sex in Hollywood films, not to mention wisdom, why is anything off limits? Who decides where the limits are these days? And on what do they base their decision?" There's a certain magic to Hollywood without doubt, and on the surface it gleams with bright lights and the temptation of fame and riches. And some make it, yet many don't. Some realize their dreams, and others chase it for the rest of their lives. Underneath the glimmer, however, is a dark underside, and we've given you a look at it. And along with the look, we've given you a deep caution. This dark underside is run by people who don't share your values, and when given the chance, they are relentless in their hunger to ensnare you, your family, and your friends. They are smart, they are clever, and most of them immoral, and they are well-funded if not well-connected. Therefore, let's be aware of Hollywood's nature and how it might be affecting our lives, and by doing so, may we protect the innocent of young minds and loved ones in our midst, in teaching them how to enjoy the good side of Hollywood. This concludes video 6F Part 5 of Arts, Music, and Communications. Please move on to the next video narrative, 6F Part 6, where we will continue with our assessment of contemporary culture with a focus on music.